Thank you very much for being here this morning. My name is Bryan Cheung. I am the CEO of Liferay. And every year I have the privilege to join all of you here. Some of you may be joining for the first time. Many of you have been here for the past 5 or 6 years, I believe, that we've had the event here in France. And it's great to see old faces and to see new faces. This morning, I wanted to talk about this ubiquitous term, digital transformation. We hear about this everywhere, I think, and by now it's been ensconced as a buzzword in most business and technology journals. And I think there's a good reason for that. If you look at the impact that digital technology is having on every single industry, on the economy, overall, it is quite tremendous. I prepared this slide here to just give an idea of what we're talking about. Since 1999, the amount of commerce and online ad revenue that's going on in the US has grown by 15 times, from, I think, just under about $19 billion or so in 1999 to about $350 billion in 2014. Well, that seems like a lot of money. If you actually compare it, though, to the overall size of the commerce, retail revenue that happens in the US, it's still just a small fraction, right? So when you think about digital transformation, there's actually enormous potential here. There's enormous commercial and business potential that we haven't yet fully tapped into. And on the other side of this, so digital transformation is about business, but it's also about technology. And who doesn't get excited about a drone, right? So when we think about all the ways that we can apply this new technology, it's quite exciting. We think about, obviously, mobile devices, the Internet of Things. We're seeing a lot of cool things happening in retail, digital dressing rooms, and that sort of thing. And we want to become part of this. We want to be innovators in applying this technology. But I've been thinking about this for the last probably 2 or 3 years now, and I found myself overwhelmed by all of this technology, by all of the industry transformation that's going on. And I wanted to ask myself the question, what is digital transformation at the heart? What is the essence? And it's not surprising, I hope, to you, as Liferay, that the answer for us was that the essence of digital transformation is to serve our customers. More specifically, it's a way to use technology to give customers what they want. And I found that when I applied this simple principle to digital transformation, it made it a lot easier for me to understand what was going on. There are a lot of ways that technology can help us do this, but there are also a lot of barriers to giving customers what they want through technology. And I wanted to walk through a few examples of those because I think ultimately, in your respective industry, in your company, you're going to ask yourself this question: how can I use technology to transform my business and do a better job of giving customers what I want? And I think what you'll find is that there's always going to be one of these barriers that may get in the way. So, first of all, I wanted to make a little illustration of what I mean by giving customers what they want using technology. It's very simple. The current thing that they get is at a lower level than what they really, really want. And technology can help us get us there. Everyone likes to talk about rising customer expectations. And of course, this idea is central to what we're going to explore this morning as well. For various reasons, because we have consumer technologies like Apple, Facebook, and Google that are raising customer expectations, to just a heightened sense of what we each deserve as individual consumers, there are these enormous customer expectations that as companies we want to meet. And one of the reasons why we're not able to meet those expectations is very often our outdated technology. So as your product is trying to reach the mountain of those customer expectations, if you're using outdated technology to get there, you're never really going to reach the heights of those expectations. And this does give your competitors the opportunity to come in with their new technology and to beat you to that customer. One of the best examples of this, it's very often used, is very famous in the US. Blockbuster Video was a DVD rental system. They were $1 billion company, and within a span of 5 to 10 years, Netflix was able to come in with better technology, which is video on demand, and basically meet these expectations that had shifted from under the feet of a company like Blockbuster. Now, as technologists, as digital transformation heads, as people who are at a technology conference, probably you think of this as the number one challenge. How can I be ahead of the technological curve in order to meet these expectations? But as I thought through this problem, I found that there were many other reasons why we're often not able to meet those expectations. One of those is different kinds of barriers. Sometimes people are not ready for technology, so there's a cultural barrier. Sometimes the local politics does not allow you to move as quickly as you'd like to, or sometimes in your industry you have regulatory barriers. And these barriers essentially prevent your product from meeting those expectations. So I was actually looking for an example of a bank in France that allows you with your mobile app to deposit a check. And the closest thing I found was this bank, which is actually French-Canadian. This is a bank called Desjardins. And they let you simply take a photo of the front and the back of the check. And that allows you to deposit the check. And I found, I think Estapagne, only in the Rhône region, had sort of a trial of this functionality a couple of years ago. But it still required that you would register and then actually send in the check, and then I think it was sort of a deposit in advance of them receiving the check, so not quite there. And I thought this was a great example of how perhaps regulatory or cultural barriers would prevent technology that's actually readily available. All of you have smartphones, most of these banks' customers probably do, but these non-technological barriers are preventing the customer from having a better experience, not having to go to the bank, not having to wait in line and wait for their check to be deposited. This is an interesting one. So a lot of times we actually don't want the customer to have a better experience. And the reason is that the thing that is preventing that better experience is also the very thing that gives our business some kind of a proprietary advantage. I'm not sure if this man is famous in France. I think he's the second richest person in the country. He is a Moroccan-born businessman, the owner of Numéricable, which also bought SFR, one of the biggest cable providers in the country. And it was in the news, I think in November 2015, that the parent company, Altice, won the rights to broadcast UK football in France for the hefty sum of 100 million euros per year. And in the article in the Financial Times, one of the quotes said that this was a big blow for Canal Plus because one of the reasons why they were able to justify charging many of you a very high fee every single month was because they were the only way that you could, in France, watch the games for the Premier League. And now that Numéricable has these rights, they can charge you 35 euros a month to use their internet and to get their 200 channels one of which includes access to these shows. And so when you think about this question of proprietary advantage, what you, the customer, wants is to watch football, or you want to watch specialty television shows, but the only way that you have to access it is through these very expensive cable operators that have a monopoly on your access to those shows. And so they bundle these 200 channels together, and the only way you can get access to one of them is to pay 40 euros a month. Well, technology will overcome these barriers, I believe. It's a matter of if. It's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when. And when it does, that proprietary advantage will be eliminated. And so if your company is in one of these positions where you're able to dictate the terms of your customer experience, my recommendation is to get ahead of technological change. It is coming, and so you need to think about the ways that you can change your business model in order not to rely on these proprietary advantages. And in the cable world, I thought one great example of this in the US was HBO Now. Like here in France, one of the ways that cable operators would take control of the customer experience was to have control over the actual broadcast, the access of this programming. And so HBO found a way to just go around all of the cable operators, and they have started providing a digital direct streaming program. You pay $15 a month, and you get access to all of the popular shows, Game of Thrones, everything that's on HBO is available. Another way that digital transformation is happening, while you are trying to figure out, let's say you are a retail bank, and you're trying to figure out how to be more competitive in the highly regulated financial services industry, but still take hold of your margins. Meanwhile, an upstart competitor is coming, and they are creating peer-to-peer technology that directly connects your customers together so that they can meet each other's needs. TransferWise, you may have heard of this very famous startup in the UK. It's one of the top 10 startups, according to The Guardian, in the the east part of London. TransferWise was started by these two Estonian gentlemen who were, one of them was living in London, and one of them was living, I believe, in Estonia. And every time they would send money from London to Estonia and from Estonia to London, they would be paying 5% in fees. And so this is the scenario. You have a guy working in one country who wants to send money to their home country, and you have someone working in another country who wants to send money to their home country. And for Dominique to send pounds from the UK, converted to euros in France, he has to pay 5%, and vice versa for Charles. And this is a terrible thing for the customers, of course, right? But the banks, this is how they make their money. And so TransferWise came along, and they realized that what they could do is they could just connect Dominique and Charles and have them send money to their respective bank accounts. And by so doing, they only had to pay TransferWise 0.5%, which is only 1/10 of what they were being charged by the banks. So all of this change is happening and shifting the landscape under your feet while you're trying to figure out how to undergo your digital transformation. Now, these are all somewhat prosaic examples of how we can improve the customer experience, but I think there are also some companies out there who are completely transforming customer expectations. And I've got this kind of silly diagram here to show that that mountain of expectations is now reaching over the moon. And so I'm calling this digital innovation. And one of the best and compelling stories I heard about this out of the US was a company called Stitch Fix. I read many articles about this company. And I have to admit, as a guy, I couldn't quite understand the excitement and appeal of this company. But in the article, the women who were interviewed were really just gushing about how great of a service this is. Now, I have to put this into context for you because you're living and working in Paris, probably not, in want of fashion in any sense, but the women who use this service are living in places like Madison, Wisconsin, or Columbus, Ohio. And if you're not familiar with the U.S., it's not quite like a village in France, but it's maybe the equivalent of that in the U.S. So they have no access to any stores within 50 miles. I think they have to drive to the nearest middle-sized town in order to do any shopping. And so these women living in these very far-fetched rural places, they order a box from Stitch Fix. And they fill out a profile of their style. I like bold colors, or I like simple things. I don't like stripes. I'm such and such a size. And basically there is a stylist who then takes that information. They pick 5 items, they put it in a box with instructions, and they send it to you. And so you're living in Madison, Wisconsin, in the rural part, and you get a notice in the mail that says your box has arrived. And so you're very excited. You go down to the post office, and you get this box, and you open it. And you get these 5 items. And these women, what they will do is they'll try on their outfits. And they take these selfies, and they post them on the internet. They're asking their friends, what do you think of this? Does it work on me? It's really a phenomenon. And in the U.S., this is something I've personally experienced. The whole experience of shopping has become just very, very tiresome. Everything is kind of large quantities of things on sale that don't fit, that you wear them once and then they get destroyed. And we call this fast fashion in the U.S. But it's just a very joyless experience. And so these women are receiving these packages, and there's this tremendous anticipation, and there's this tremendous social element to the shopping experience. And so this is really, really transformative for a lot of women who have given up on the shopping experience, and now they're really having fun with it again, right? Now, where does the technology come in? Well, this is what makes Stitch Fix really interesting. They combine both digital technology and a human touch. So after they fill out that profile, they actually have real stylists. These are women who have graduated from fashion school, who maybe have been in an industry. They take that profile, and then they basically handpick those 5 items for that individual. As they put it in the box, they scan the items, and these items have attributes. The color, the sizing, the style, all of these things are codified. And this all goes into their big data store, and there's also an algorithm that is constantly learning from the stylists how to match these profiles to individual items of clothing. And so on the way out to the customer, the algorithm learns from the stylist, and then the customer gets the box, they're able to try it on, and then out of those 5 items, they can return all of it, and then they just have to pay a $20 fee, or they can keep 1 to 5 of the items and apply the fee to the price of those items. And depending on what they keep and what they send back, and the notes that they send to their stylist about what worked and what didn't, they take account of all of that data as well, right? And then the stylist also learns from the algorithm and learns from the data. And so there's this cycle where technology and people are working together to provide a better experience. The most interesting thing, ultimately, that I learned from Stitch Fix, and this will take me into the next section, is that Stitch Fix is not actually selling technology. I think we all understand that. They're not also primarily trying to be more efficient with their business. But this transformation, this digital innovation for them, enables a new kind of experience for the customers, for the women who are their customers. This was one of the quotes that was given by the CEO of a competitor to Stitch Fix, but she said that what they are engaging with, what they are purchasing, is actually this experience. A lot of these women have been too shy. They've been not trusting their own style, not able to go outside of their comfort zone in terms of what they were willing to wear. And with Stitch Fix, they found the courage to push those boundaries, to try things that they hadn't ever dared to try before. And then finally to be recognized by their peers, to hear people at the office giving them compliments, to be, to hear compliments from their husbands or their boyfriends or whatever it was. And so there's this delightful experience that is very addicting and very powerful. So this morning, I am happy to also have the chance to introduce to you in person Liferay Digital Experience Platform. This is a product that is the culmination of many of the things that we've worked on for the last 12 to 24 months. You've probably seen that we've been going in this direction for the last couple of years. And for a number of reasons, we realized that it no longer made sense for Liferay to be known as a portal. And so we are entering this space known as the Digital Experience Platform. Before I get into the philosophy, I did want to get a chance to just give you a preview of what Liferay DXP looks like. We have, of course, a on-premise portion, which are some of the traditional technologies that you've come to know. And this would be, for example, our blogs management system. But we also have in development some cloud-based features that will help you understand customers in terms of their profile, getting all of their customer data in a single place, and then also to engage them with campaigns. Not just for marketing, not just for getting them to buy things, but to understand them better, to nurture them after the sale, after they become a customer, to help them to understand all of the services and features that are available in your products, and also to get them to engage in spreading awareness of your brand and telling more customers about you. So that's just a brief look at DXP, but what I wanted to talk about this morning really was more about our philosophy behind DXP, how we designed this platform. And the first thing I wanted to say is that our goal is to provide a better experience end to end. There are a lot of DXPs out there, and a lot of them are really focused on, omni-channel, but they're probably only focused on that prospect phase of the customer, right? Or if they are focused on the customer relationship, they're primarily doing it from a web channel. And for Liferay, it was very important for us to really think about the end-to-end experience. So one of the things that you may see in your experience with Liferay is this is our demo for our retail banking experience. And I won't give the demo this morning, but if you see the way that the demo goes, you realize that there is a continuity from the experience that the customer has online in their online banking portion to their experience on a mobile device, so that when they're walking by a retail branch, they're actually receiving a push notification that tells them, for example, that the retirement strategies they were perusing online, well, they are able to talk about that with an advisor. And so when they get that notification, they can then walk into the branch, and the financial advisor has that same view of the customer that's been aggregated from all of these channels, and that allows the advisor to more intelligently talk to the customer about these retirement options. And by the way, the customer rep knows that this is a high-value customer with a large number of assets at stake. So with Liferay DXP, we really want to design experiences that cross digital channels as well as physical experiences. The second is that we believe that transformation happens when you deeply change the way your business runs, and when surface-level interactions are backed by real business process and real business operations. And at a recent Forrester conference, I was happy to hear this idea kind of be validated by a Forrester analyst named Liz Herbert. And she uses the obvious analogy of an iceberg. But what you'll find with other DXPs is that sometimes they're really focused just on that experience on the front end, whether it's a mobile, a digital kiosk, or a website. But with Liferay DXP, we do all of those things, but we really want to back that with real integration to backend systems, configurable business processes that you can define and change as your business changes, and really thinking about how this technology might change your business model. In another related report, Forrester pointed out that one of the biggest technical barriers for better customer experience is actual inadequate integration. And sometimes when we're caught up in this new digital technology, we don't really want to think about something as boring as systems integration. And yet, this is still very, very vital to the experience. And if you've been to past symposiums, you may remember a slide I gave where I said that integration leads to interaction. I think this is the core concept here. So all of the work that you've already done to make all of your systems talk together, this is going to continue to be very, very important. Apicil is not one of the case studies that you'll hear from today, but it is available on Liferay's website and, of course, from our sales reps. And what was interesting to me about their study was that in the same breath, they talk about the experience. They talk about how within 5 months, they were able to revamp their website to have a much more modern experience. But they also talk about how much they had to make actual business processes available to their customers. And so one of the things that you can do with Apicil's website is to get real-time insurance quotes. This is something, again, that requires that all your systems are talking together to support that customer experience. And then at the end of the study, they say that the next thing on the roadmap is to then have the responsive design capabilities that will further extend that experience to mobile channels. And so this is exactly the kind of transformation that I'm talking about, where you're able to bridge both the customer-facing experience, the deep integration, and then to quickly move into the next part of your strategy. So I'm going to try to wrap up here because I've run out of time. The last thing I want to talk about is how Liferay DXP, ultimately, it is just a technology, and it is not going to make or break your digital transformation. That requires a committed strategy. It requires cultural change within your organization, and it requires business innovation. But technology does help in that transformation. And so I've talked about some of these aspects already. With Liferay DXP, we really want to support the full customer lifecycle. We don't want to just stop at selling things to people, but we really want to take care of them throughout the whole relationship. I've also mentioned that we want to go deeper than just targeting content and offers across channels, but we also want to have business processes support your digital operations. And then finally, because a lot of the case studies that we're going to hear today, they're not just public websites, they're also extranets, they're intranets, they're all kinds of different audiences that are being addressed. Liferay DXP is designed to address the various groups of people that are involved in your corporate enterprise. These can be people within your company, these can be your customers, but very often they're people outside, they're your partners. Or in a retail environment, you may have a franchise model where the owner-operators of your franchises are part of your business, but they also have a degree of independence. Again, other vendors are focusing a lot of their attention really on that one piece of the pie, whereas DXP is really trying to address all of those audiences. And then finally, if you study this market, what you'll find is that DXP It's a fast-growing market. It's very crowded. But you'll also find that most vendors have arrived at their portfolios through a series of acquisitions over the years. Liferay, for better or worse, there are pros and cons to this, but we have built all of our technology in-house. It's all designed to work together. And I think when you talk to your technologists, what you'll find is that they will run into some trouble getting the products in the competitors' portfolios to actually work together. Because let's say CQ5, which was acquired by Day Software, or acquired by Adobe from Day Software, was never really intended to work with Omniture, which is Adobe's analytics program. And so Liferay, all of the people that have worked on the program are the people who you'll meet at symposiums. They're the same people who have worked for the last 8, 9, or 10 years with Liferay. We know our product in and out. Sometimes we're missing some of the features that may be provided by the other vendors. But on the other hand, we know what it would take either to integrate well with those systems or to quickly build equivalent functionality. So that's just a very brief word about DXP. Now, the title of my talk was to put people at the heart of your business. And I haven't had a chance to talk about this aspect of Liferay for the last couple of years. I don't have another talk today, so I just wanted to talk about this. Speaking a little bit personally from my heart, I came into the venue this morning about 9:10. I haven't seen a lot of my colleagues since probably December. I think is the last time I saw a lot of them, and my tiredness probably hid my enthusiasm and my joy at seeing them. And what I'm trying to say is that, so this is my 12th year of being at Liferay. I've been doing this for 12 years. And what has made it such an amazing experience for me has been the people of Liferay. At Liferay, we try to make people one of the most important things about our business. And I think you'll have experienced this when you've interacted with our sales folks, when you interacted with our marketing team or our consultants. They're a really, really special group of people. Last week, I think the Madrid office, they took a full week. So we have this program called the Employee Volunteer Program, and our employees are allowed to have a week a year to volunteer with different nonprofits. So I think we had about 15 to 20 people from our Spain office help a nonprofit to build a shelter for women who have been victims of human trafficking. And so they're somehow able to be rescued from human trafficking, and this is a safe place where they can stay and where they can learn a new skill. And so our team had the chance to take a week off of work and to build different things. One of the things they built, I think, is a chicken coop. This is a place where you can raise chickens. And I'm not exactly sure what they're going to do with that. I think they're going to, learn some basic agricultural techniques and so forth. But these are women who have been through a lot, and any kind of alternative vocational activity is great for them. But I think I just want to say this just to recognize them, to recognize the great people that make this company turn every single day. The great people who give Liferay its heart and soul. And we have this event here because we want to really give you our best. You are our customers and our partners. We wouldn't be here without you. And so help us to understand your needs. Help us to understand how we can help you. Help us to understand how we can be a better company that puts all of you at the center of what we do as well. I don't think that came out as coherently as I hoped. Again, I'm a little bit tired, but maybe a simpler way to say all of what I just said was to say thank you so very much for all of your support and kindness to us over the last 12 years. and we want to continue to serve you with our technology, but more importantly, through our service as a business. Thank you so much for being here today. I look forward to speaking with you, and enjoy the rest of the conference. Thank you very much.